Hello. I apologize, it has been so long since I've seen you guys. I was definitely not intending for that to happen, but the last few weeks have been a bit rocky, to say the least. The move was certainly a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Not the physical process itself in the moment. I mean, it was stressful, as those things always are, but just transitioning to a new home and adjusting to a new place and dealing with all of the administrative things that go along with that, as well as ending one job and starting another one, and dealing with the stress of a sudden job loss, and dealing with being on the unemployment system for the first time ever, which was really honestly more of a kick to the ego than anything, but it was still stressful. And going through the job hunting right now, if you are dealing with that, my heart goes out to you. This job market is atrocious right now, absolutely horrifying, and I'll probably make a whole separate video about it because it is, wow, it's terrible. Of course I got really lucky that I found a job within a few months. In fact, like just before my 90-day furlough was up, so it was just in time. But I know so many people are struggling to find a job for a lot longer than I did. So hang in there. And all of this happened at a time that is like the worst time of year for me. January through March are usually pretty rough as far as my mental health goes, because I'm very susceptible to seasonal depression. So, all of this change and not so great things all compounded in a not great mental time of year for me. So I think it just kind of all became too much. And I think that really hit the peak right after the move. It was a whole combination of things. Like, I didn't sleep the night before the move. I had taken the bed apart, of course, and got it ready for the morning since the movers were supposed to be there at 8 a.m. So the mattress was on the floor, and of course the cats were upset and just wouldn't settle all night, so I didn't get any sleep, and I just cried for several hours before I eventually just got up and stupidly packed the coffee maker because I was worried about not having everything exactly perfectly done when the movers got there. So I didn't have coffee that day, which also sucked, but the movers ended up being a half hour late without calling, and I totally could have had time to have coffee, but I was stressed. And I was stressing over stupid shit too, like those cheesy ass plastic blinds. I was genuinely trying to fix one in the bedroom that the cats had broke, and unfortunately it was like one of those auto recoil ones, so it just sucked up the whole center line when I was trying to undo it, and I couldn't get it back out, and I just had to leave it broken. And afterwards my brother was like, why were you stressing about something as dumb as those stupid blinds? And in hindsight, I still don't have a great answer for that. I think it was just, I don't know. I just do that kind of shit. I guess I like to be a perfectionist when I move out because I want someplace as clean and nice as I would want to move into. So I try to do that for the next person, and I just I don't know. It was just too much. And maybe I should have started the whole process days earlier, I guess. I don't know, but oh well. Once we got everything moved to Gloucester, the movers put the last box in, and it basically closed me in. I felt like I was in a hoarder situation because the apartment I just moved into is the size of a shoebox. It is less than half the size of the place that we just moved out of, so yeah. And I thought I was going to be able to have a layout a certain way because I took measurements when I went to go view it, so I could kind of plan that stuff so I could sell things if I needed to, or get stuff in storage if I had to. know, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out in person the way I wanted it to. I had way less space than I actually thought I might. I don't know how or why, but I don't know. In reality, it's just smaller than it looks on paper. But yeah, once the movers put that last box in the door and left, I was basically boxed in, and I felt like I was in a hoarder situation because the new apartment I just moved into is very small. It is less than half the size of the one I just moved out of. And I had taken measurements when I looked at the apartment so I could kind of plan how I was going to lay out the space to make it work and figure out what I had to get rid of or sell or put in storage. So I tried my best, but of course, for whatever reason, reality is just way different than paper. But to even get to figure that out, I had to first figure out how to make some space, because I had about a 2-foot by 10-foot path to walk in between the two rooms. So to get to even start organizing anything, I just had to play a huge, slow, constant game of Tetris. It was pretty terrible, but eventually I made enough room to make the bed because I was completely exhausted by that point. I wanted that made because I knew when I was going to be ready to go down, I was going to be ready to go down and not have to make the bed at that point. So that was top priority. So I did that, and then I just had to stop because I was exhausted. So that night, we didn't sleep again because obviously in a new place, like, the cats were freaking out and they just would not stop crying, and it was awful and heartbreaking. And oh my God, just another night of crying for quite some time because you're just so exhausted. And of course I'm like spiraling at that point, thinking, oh my God, I made the wrong choice. What have I done? I have just ruined everything for myself and these poor cats. And oh my God, the spiral that happens when you're overwhelmingly exhausted. What have I done? Last night was rough. Real rough. Another few hours of sleep, I don't know. I got the cats into bed with me for bedtime. It was very traumatic for them yesterday. The cats, they're scared to death of any loud noises or anyone but me. So, and this building seems to be full of them. The shop downstairs has music going. I don't know. I think they open like noon to 8 every day. And so it's just music constantly, and they're directly below my unit. I didn't realize how much noise transferred to when I came and viewed the apartment. It was the morning, so they weren't open, so there was no music. It was quiet, and apparently there's renovations going on upstairs. All 3 of these units got renovated at once, so they were all vacant, so we're all moving in right now. And the girls across the hall are moving in furniture today, so it's just so much banging, and the cats are just... But anyway, got them into bed with me last night, and we slept for a few hours. I think we made it till 1:30, and then I kind of woke up and rolled over and thought I was gonna fall back asleep, but that just woke them up. And oh my God, they crawled around, but they were just in panic mode. They were crying and bellowing at one point, and Piper was just trying to burrow into anything she could find to find a hiding spot, and it was heart-wrenching. And every time I tried to fall back asleep, they would start up again, and I had to keep getting out of bed. It was probably 5 a.m. by the time I was able to fall back asleep and like everyone quieted down, and oh my god, I just another night of like crying for hours because I was so frustrated, but obviously understanding of them, why they're acting that way. They're freaking out. They're just like going around trying to find, probably like waiting for me to open the door so they could go to the rest of the house. Since this entire apartment is approximately the size of our last living room, so I mean, just confusing all around and traumatic for them. It was awful. It was awful. I felt shit. Of course, we were just surrounded by boxes last night. I mean, we still are. And beanbag. And this thing is just like the monstrosity in the middle of everything. Obviously, priority number one is going to be selling it because there's just no room for it. And selling that damn TV as well. Like, it's just, it's overbearing. The bed is big enough that it takes up half this living room, bedroom, living space. Because this space is so small, there's so much of like jockeying shit around just to like get access to one thing. So it's so, it's time consuming because you have to like shift and shuffle a million things to unearth the one thing you need, and then shift and shuffle it all back to free up the space where you wanted to put that one thing. And so it's like a massive game of Tetris. So part of my mental spiral last night, because it got ugly, like I was just sobbing for hours again. So that's like 2 nights in a row. And I'm not saying that as like a boohoo. I'm saying that as this is the reality of where I'm at right now. And I know it's because I'm insanely overtired. I'm insanely dehydrated. I have not exactly eaten hardly anything over the last 48 hours. And so I'm just like not in a good space. That's playing into it very heavily. But I was very overwhelmed last night with the cats freaking out. And what is this fuzz I have in my eye? Holy shit. It's just dust and fuzz everywhere. But I just couldn't help but feeling like I've made a huge mistake here. Like I was just having, what have I done thoughts. Like, what have I done to me? What have I done to these poor cats? Ugh. I know it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. But just, like, right now, what have I done? I know I'm just, like, doing what had to be done. Everything is temporary, and including this apartment. Like, this sucks. This sucks. There's no place for the cats to even, like, run, stretch their legs, chase each other. And obviously, like, they'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I'm going to try my best to build some creative things that are, like, up high and stuff for them, you know, sensory things. Because it just is not enough space for 2 cats. But so I'm just, like, feeling like a real shit pet parent right now, and that's probably killing me more than anything, because I don't care what I subject myself to, but it's like, it sucks. It just hasn't been the easiest. Like, I knew this would suck. I knew this would be hard, but I guess the reality of it yesterday was just, especially once the movers left, and like I didn't have more than a few inches to really move, and it was just like, oh my god, what am I doing? What am I gonna do? You know? And it's gotten better with shuffling things around. There's at least a rug down. Hopefully the rugs will help with the music coming from downstairs, and it should. And you know, they'll get used to it. I'll get used to it. We'll all get used to it. But it's just, It sucks. I feel like a failure. And I know it's like, it's not me. It's just like the reality of, I don't know, the economy, I guess, and job loss, and having to do what you have to do, and having to take a new job in a new location. I mean, I guess I didn't have to. I could have waited for maybe more opportunities, but who knows when those would come along, you know? You can't just bank on that. So I just felt like I've made decisions to do what had to be done, and unfortunately this price, I mean, this apartment is $50 a month cheaper than the one I just left, but it's less than half the size, and that's just a factor of the economy right now. And just this complete housing crisis, housing shortage, like there just wasn't options, and I couldn't wait anymore with the job thing, and it just is like, so I know I just like did the best I could in the moment, but this sucks. I'm just way overtired, I know. But I know all of this, or at least a lot of this, is self-induced because I don't ask for help when I should. It is completely absurd that I have been going through all of this and trying to handle all of this and think I can handle all of this by myself. No. No. Why? Why do I think that I have to do that? I don't know. It's so annoying. I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to be less probably toxically independent. I feel like I have certainly been in that realm of things for many years, and so I've been trying to work on that, but still not great at it yet. So definitely stressed myself right into just really needing a timeout on everything, absolutely everything. And I just kind of let myself have that, and just let myself have that for as long as I needed it. I just let myself feel all of that, and have time to have a hard time, and have time to have a timeout. And I put like no pressure on it, and there was a million and one times I felt like picking up the camera and like sharing with you guys what I was dealing with, but I just couldn't do it. And now I'm in my first week of training for my new job, and I was not looking forward to it just because, one, the cats, like I just put them in this new environment that they're hating, because Pepe is very vocal about his displeasure in being trapped in a 300 square foot room, and I don't blame him. They're definitely not getting the exercise that they're used to. Plus, the apartment is incredibly loud, and on the first night, the music downstairs in the food shop that is below me was so loud. I could not sleep. And of course, this is definitely night 2 of pure exhaustion and not sleeping. So that's how the night started. And the landlord did tell me when I moved in, he said, let me know if the music is too loud. The food shop downstairs has been told that residents are moving in now, because it's been vacant for a while because they were renovating. But they were told that residents were moving in, but obviously someone just hadn't got the memo. So He apologized the next morning, and then waking up to being completely surrounded by cardboard boxes and just everything in chaos. It was a lot. I'm very much like order, and I like my home a sanctuary to have order. And I just left an apartment I was very safe in. I felt very safe there. I lived there for the longest that I've lived anywhere since I left home at 18. So I definitely had put a little bit of roots down, and I was sad to leave that place. I was comfortable there, but I also knew I was stagnant there. So I knew it was time to go, but I just didn't realize how hard that transition would be as well, as far as my home base kind of being uprooted and in a new place. I didn't realize that would affect me so much. So again, I just gave myself time and space to feel those things and hoped that I would get adjusted, and just kept pecking away at the cardboard chaos one day at a time and doing my best to stay the happiest. So I've been out exploring, trying to find all of the local trails and bike paths and seeing all the pretty spots, trying to stay positive about the positive aspects of living in Gloucester, which there are tons of because it's so gorgeous here, and I really do love it. It's just the apartment itself that's been really hard. Like I said, the food shop is loud, but it's not just their music. Like, I hear the slamming of their freezers with every single customer's order. It rattles things on my walls and shelves. Like, that's how loud. Slamming every order from noon to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And I can always hear music all the time. For the first week, they had it on, I don't know what station, but I heard Hit Me Baby One More Time more times than I ever hoped to hear in my lifetime. And I thought I was going to go crazy. It was awful. And then the second night in the apartment, they didn't ever crank it quite as loud because the landlord had spoken to them. However, when they locked up for the evening at 10 p.m., they forgot to turn the radio off. So I had to hear it all night long. So, of course, this is now night 3 of complete exhaustion and just sobbing for several hours throughout the night, unable to sleep. And, of course, the cats were still upset and loud, and it was just really wearing me down. And at this point, I feel like I'm just complaining. So I apologize. I'm just trying to explain the chaos that has happened and where I've been. But I had hope because I knew that this work training was starting, and I figured, I'll just give myself some space until then. And then once I'm there, I'll be surrounded by a bunch of people again. And I feel like that'll give me some energy back, and I'll get a burst of enthusiasm and feel like picking up the camera again and sharing with people. So thank goodness I was right. I was actually hoping it would happen earlier in the week, but so I took my camera to the work training with me, thinking I would want to film in the evening. But unfortunately, when I got there and I checked in on Sunday evening, the front desk clerk said, "Oh, you're the first one here. Your roommate isn't here yet." And I said, "My what?" She said, "Your roommate. They haven't checked in yet." And I said, "What do you mean roommate?" She said, "Yeah, it looks like you have a roommate." And I was like, "Oh, interesting." Because, of course, no one said anything about a roommate. I just was told I have a hotel accommodation. So that really caught me by surprise in a not great way, because I was already going into this feeling really not in a great spot. And not that I think further self-isolation is good, but I knew just even being surrounded by people in a classroom for 8 hours a day was already going to be a lot. And then to have someone in the space with me in the evenings as well, that's not going to allow me to like recharge and feel fully comfortable to like spread out and just be in my own space to recoup from the day. So I thought it, so the desk clerk saying that to me was like instant internal panic. So I went back out to my car and I just opened my trunk and I just stared at my trunk and all the things that I brought, because in my trunk was my huge bag of food. All of the things to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the week, and I had a whole basket of fruit, and of course I had my espresso maker because I'm not about to drink hotel coffee. And so I had, of course, milk and sugar. I just stared at my trunk and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't bring all this food in there. She's gonna think I'm crazy. And like I just mentally panicked about that for about 5 minutes, just staring at my trunk, like paralyzed about what to do. Leave it in the car and let it rot all week, or take it in, like think she's gonna think I'm crazy. So I mean, eventually I said, you know what, whatever, I'm already gonna be the older person in the room, so I might as well be the older crazy person in the classroom. I'm okay with that. So I took it in and I, unpacked on my side of the room, and she didn't show up, but she was there in the middle of the night when I woke up. I guess her flight got in late and I didn't hear her come in, luckily. But yeah, I mean, obviously she's wonderful and it's worked out just fine, but it was just like, when you're not ready for that and that's sprung on you, that's kind of a lot. If I were freshly out of college, I could probably roll with that really easy, or maybe I even would have expected to have a roommate. But man, at this age, it did not even cross my mind as a potential possibility. And I haven't shared a space with someone for almost 5 years. So to all of a sudden just have someone in my space all the time, whew, that's a lot. So it just was, it was a lot. But obviously by the end of the week, it was fine. I was definitely worried about the cats the entire week, and amplified towards the end as the days went. But luckily I got home Friday evening, and they were just fine. They had plenty of food and water, but I felt so terrible about it, as I've already shared. No, I didn't, but luckily they were fine. But it's still, luckily they were fine, but I still don't feel great that I had to leave them all week, and now I'm only here for the weekend and have to leave them for another week. But I guess it is what it is. So as far as the apartment goes, I'm working on it. I will show you guys that more as I get it more situated and unpacked and put together. It's still a little bit of chaos at the moment. I made a trip up to Maine early last week to drop a load of things at my parents' house to put in storage again, like I did before the move. But unfortunately there was more that I thought I was going to be able to fit that I just can't. And in fact, I still need to make another trip because there's still more that's just not fitting, including my bike, which I'm kind of sad about, but it's just way too big. It takes up way too much space. I might as well just put it in my parents' barn for the year or however long and free up more space in the kitchen because frankly I need it. And I also need to find like a food prep station. There is 0 countertop. Okay, there's 6 inches of countertop, and it's just not practical for prepping food and someone who loves to cook every meal, including tons of baked goods, and make my own bread. Like I need a food prep space, and I have nothing right now. So I need to figure that out. I'm still trying to sell the bean bag, but everyone that's interested, I keep saying, you have a large enough car, right? And oh, no, I don't. It's like, that's why I put the measurements in the photo, you know? Like, and I need to figure out what else I'm going to do for seating, because I do have the green chair, but it's just not that comfortable for sitting in long term, like if I wanted to watch a movie or something. So it's not the best. I really need to get another area rug as well. Like I said, I can hear every slam of the freezer with every order downstairs, and if they don't close until 10 p.m. and if I'm having to get up at 3 a.m. to get on a boat to go to work, that's not going to go over so well. So I think from researching, like, the most effective and certainly most affordable thing I can do is just get a really good quality high pile or high density area rug. So I'm going to look for a used one on Marketplace and see if I can cover more area to block out some of that sound and some of the radio. Obviously, like, the location here is top notch. It's, you know, and I can walk to the little downtown, and there's tons of food and, you know, chocolate shops, wine shops. It's just so cute. And the harbor, obviously, you know, it'll be hopefully a pretty short commute for work when I do have to get down to the boats in the mornings. So location, it's like 10 out of 10. It's just like the apartment itself that really sucks. It's a loud building. You hear everything. There's constant slamming and banging. They're renovating the unit above me, so the cats are always like in panic, and it makes me feel like shit, and it's just not relaxing. And hopefully if I can muffle some of that and like give the space more time, it'll get better. That's what I'm hoping. As far as the new job goes, like I told you guys, I was able to negotiate a higher pay than their starting rate just because I have done this before. But at the training the past week, there are, of course, other people from the three other companies that provide these contract positions as well, and we're all mixed together. So, you know, some people are less tactful about talking about pay and whatnot. So to hear that some of the other companies are starting their brand new people, you know, most of these kids are fresh out of undergraduate school, so they're very young. So these other companies are starting them making $25 a day more than me. And it's not like I think I deserve, but like, and the other companies also are offering a year-long retention bonus just because it's an incredibly high turnover job. Like working offshore with fishermen as like a government contract position, it's not always the most pleasant experience, and the weather makes it not a pleasant experience. The hours, like everything about it is mentally hard, and so it has incredibly high turnover. And it did back in the day when I did this job before too, back in 2008 to 2010. I stayed 2.5 years. That was like an incredibly long time for the position. So just the fact that I'm even going back to it is kind of wild. But to some degree, I do feel like I have some leg to stand on with negotiations. So I feel like I'm certainly going to have a conversation with the company I work for, you know, eventually, not right out of the gate, but eventually, like, have that conversation about how quickly can things kind of move along as far as the pay goes. So I don't know. I was just really taken aback by that, I guess. Which I did do some research beforehand. I know the other companies were paying a little bit higher per like Glassdoor, I think. And I might have looked at some of there's job postings as well, I think, but I don't know. I didn't think too hard about it at the time. I don't know why, but it's okay. It's not like, I don't know, a competition. It just kind of a drag, especially like the way this particular individual was presenting it, like, oh, well, I'm making it's like, oh, okay, awkward. And speaking of money, like, obviously the move itself was kind of expensive. Moving to a new apartment is expensive when you have to pay upfront first month security deposit, and I had to pay a broker's fee, and I paid a partial prorated rent as well for April so I could move in here before training, and it's been a lot, but I'm keeping track. My previous landlord has sent a check in the mail for this returning my security deposit, so that's coming eventually. And yeah, I don't know, there's been a lot of like big chunks of money moving around just because of moving. I will like tally it all up and make a video about how much the whole move cost and everything as well, but I just haven't done that yet because I have not felt like it, to be perfectly honest, but I will. I do find myself feeling better now that I have been in training for a week and around people, and now I'm back home for the weekend. I feel better. Being around the cats makes me feel better, knowing they're okay. So things are coming around. Like I said, trying to stay focused on the positives. Like being able to walk down here from my apartment, and there's a really big nature conservation area just up the road that's like a 9-minute drive from my apartment that I've been going to most mornings, and just walking on the trails, getting back into trail running, like dabbling back in, starting slow here, but it's been so nice. I've been really looking forward to that. I knew moving here I was going to be able to like get back into that, so I'm very happy about that. And in the evenings, almost every evening, at least when it's nice out, I find myself being called to walk down here from my apartment. It's about a half an hour walk to this exact spot, but only like a 10-minute walk to the little downtown area with all the shops and restaurants. So it's amazing. Like 20-something Rachel would be like, oh my God, I live in a walkable city. Like that was always a dream. Not that this is a huge city, but this is like a cute, good-sized seaside city. Like it's so cute. I love it. It's just not necessarily where I want it to be. Like I've told you guys, I was trying to get to Maine because that's where my family is and where I want to be long term, but I'm trying to look at this as like an adventure, not like a, oh no, another stumbling block to get to the end goal, but like another, I don't know, little side adventure I get to have, I guess, before I do go settle down. So I'm trying to reframe it like that and be more positive and optimistic about this, because I really was pretty hardcore down in the dumps for a bit there, and it was awful. I felt like I made a terrible mistake and what am I doing, and just pure panic, you know. It just wasn't good. So certainly to anyone else, I would recommend asking for help with things, especially the moving process. But I get it, it's not fun. It's not easy to ask people to help you. At least it's not for me, because like the people pleaser in me never wants to put someone out of their way or be a burden to them in any way. And then the other side of me with this like point to prove chip on my shoulder from being the youngest and the only girl, I never want to show that I can't do it on my own either. Like I just have to save face all the time and just nope, I can always handle everything all on my own. I don't need help. And like in trying to heal all of that bullshit over the last year, I'm realizing like I still have work to do, of course. We're not all perfect. It's an ongoing learning process, but I'm trying, and I'm at least way more self-aware nowadays, so that's nice. And also not afraid to talk about it anymore, so yay. I feel like those are steps in the right direction. And I think on the personal healing level, which obviously I don't talk about on my channel, but I have been doing a lot of personal work in the last year and a half. Ever since I left the nuclear plant, it like was the thing that allowed me to focus on myself and regain a normal life and that allowed space for that personal healing. So since all of that happened in the old apartment, I think that added a pretty good sized emotional attachment to that apartment as well, that also played into the whole impact that moving out of there had for me. So in case anyone cared, I think that was a big part of it. I'm just glad that I'm feeling better and I've been around people, and that's helped me feel rejuvenated and feeling like I want to get back into the swing of things, or I guess more appropriately say, like, find my new schedule here in this new environment, new job, new everything, and just, reestablishing some kind of schedule or routine for myself. I'm very much a routine person to stay sane and structured, so not having that for those first few weeks after a move is definitely rough on me. We're getting back to it. So thank you for having patience with me and coming back around after me being gone for a few weeks at least. Another thing that's great about the training that I'm in, most of us in the class are going to be stationed here in Gloucester. So it's nice, we're not all going to live right in Gloucester, but most of us are. And so I'm happy about the thought of I no longer will live in a city where I know zero other people. So that's providing some sense of relief as well. Like, I won't feel so alone here. I think that was part of the issue too, for sure. So yay. All good things. So again, thank you for being here and coming back around. If you did jump to this video after me being gone for a while, I appreciate that. Again, I apologize. I didn't mean to be gone so long. I just had a rough patch there. Had to work through it. I will hopefully very soon get back into a normal schedule, normal swing of things, and get back to regular uploads and whatnot. But maybe I just might need a tiny bit more time, especially with this work training. Oh my gosh. Like I mentioned earlier, having a roommate kind of like cuts out the evenings, or my ability to film in the evenings in the hotel room. I would never do that with someone else in there. That's really awkward. So that stinks. And we're like busy. These are busy, long days. It's 8 to 5:30-ish, and each night we have readings and homework that are due the next day, and we have overall exams and practicals and things. So even the evenings are really not free. So it's been a lot, and I have another full week, and then I can come back here next weekend, and then I go back down for Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm done with training. So I have at least one more full week of school. I feel like I'm back in school. Especially given the ages of everyone else in the classroom. Definitely back in school. But it's been nice. It's been like some youthful vibrance, I guess. But yeah, so I might just be a couple more weeks before I'm really back in my schedule of like Transfer Tuesday and usually another video. But I will get there. So thank you for being here, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.